Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wa sallallahu ala rasulillah. Okay, brothers, inshallah, we're going to have a short lesson tonight, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We'll review very quickly some of what we covered over the last few weeks. We have been talking about the beginning of creation, and one of the main points to take away for Aqidah is when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked about the beginning of creation, he told them a more essential knowledge. He said what? Allah was. Allah was when He was existing, and there was the meaning, nothing else in existence. Allah was and there was nothing other than Him, meaning there was nothing else in existence. So from that point of Aqidah, we can deduce many judgments. We know that, for instance, that Allah was before light, before darkness, before distance, before direction, before space, before place, before time. Allah existed and there was nothing else in existence. So we know that Allah exists, but is completely different from everything else. And we said that Allah's existence is not what? Contingent. It's not dependent. Allah's existence doesn't require something else to exist. As opposed to us, our existence is what? Contingent on a multitude of different things. We require what? Air to breathe. We require food. We require space. Our existence is contingent on many creations. We need a what? Temperature at a certain level. If it's too hot, we perish. If it's too cold, we perish. So our existence is contingent on multiple factors. And, of course, our existence is dependent upon the Creator, Allah Ta'ala. But the Creator, His existence is not contingent upon something else. Not contingent upon space, not contingent upon time, not contingent upon temperature, not contingent upon light or darkness. So the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah was, meaning before the creation, before the genesis of creation, and there was nothing else in existence. MashaAllah. This is what? Tawheed. Because there is the Creator and everything else is a creation. That's it. This is Tawheed. So, and then we mentioned that Allah Ta'ala created the Arsh over the primordial water. And we said that the primordial water, the original water, is the first of the creations. So it's a creation. And with the primordial water also is the origination of what? Space and time. Because when the primordial water, when it started to exist, it required what? Space. And after the moment it started to exist, what happened? There was time. It wasn't existing, then it what? It started to exist. And then there was what? The moment after. So then you're talking about what? Time. Allah Ta'ala, as we just said, His existence is not contingent upon anything. So Allah's existence is not contingent upon space or time, because Allah was and there was nothing else in existence. Beautiful. The knowledge is sound. And as we were saying, you talk about the young brother on Saturday, this knowledge what? Helps perfect the intellect. Because the knowledge makes your intellect healthy. And then also, alhamdulillah, you follow the rules of the religion, you are what? Morally healthy. You look at the people doing drugs and alcohol, and they talk about fornication and gambling and all these vices that they destroy not only the physical circumstances of the human being, but also destroy his what? His heart. His heart is ruined. Okay, so now let's talk. We're going to go back and get a little technical. And we'll go very quickly because we're talking about the miracles, and I'll mention why we're going to review this, and then inshallah that will lead to talking some more detail about the miracles. So we talked about multiple times in these sessions, we talked about the rational judgments. And we're going to go very quickly through this because that will lead to the second part, inshallah. We talked about this last week, but this is fine. So we mentioned what are the three rational judgments?
Rational necessity.
The rational necessity. And the rational necessity refers to Allah and His attributes. And it is that the rational necessity refers to the one whom the mind says must be. There must be a creator. And how do we know that there must be a creator? Because we said the world exists, and it can't be what? And it can't be what?
Self-created.
Can't be beginningless, and it can't be self-created.
Okay.
So it requires a creator. So that's why we say the existence of God is a rational necessity. And the second category of rational judgments?
Rational impossibility.
The rational
Impossibility.
MashaAllah, you understand this? You have a lot, MashaAllah, in terms of clarity. And this, the rational impossibility, that which does not at all have the potential to exist. For example, a square that is a circle. It can't be. The statement is an absurdity. You mentioned what? A married bachelor, right? The daughter giving birth to her own mother. These are statements, they are words put together, but in reality they have no what? Meaning. They don't have a meaning. What is a square circle?
It's nothing.
Doesn't have a meaning. Yeah. I mean, they're words. The word square and circle have a meaning, but a square can't be a circle can't be a circle.
Be a square.
No. By definition, the thing cannot be contrary to its definition. The thing cannot be contrary to its definition. And then what was the third category of the rational judgments?
Possibility.
The rational possibility. And what do we say it is? That which has the potential to exist. And then we added a little detail. What did we say?
Based on customary and uncustomary.
It includes customary
and uncustomary.
And uncustomary. Okay? So something customary. If you have a match, you light a match, and you dip it in a cup of water, what is the customary thing to occur?
We go out.
Yeah, the match will be what? Extinguished. That's customary. But is it conceivable to the mind that you could have that match, you could light it, and then pour water over it, and the water doesn't do anything to it? Can you imagine this? Yeah. Yeah.
That's possible.
It's possible. But it's not what? Customary.
Customary.
And why do we expect the water to extinguish the match when you light it, or the candle? Let's say the match. Why do you expect the water to extinguish the match? Because that's what you know. That's the normal things. That's the normal things. But we know that these causes don't create. The fire does not give itself its properties. The water does not give itself its properties. So it's conceivable that something could happen contrary to the way things usually happen. And we'll come back to that a little bit more, inshallah. So that which has the potential to exist is a rational possibility. This includes customary, meaning things that we're familiar with, and uncustomary. Something might be considered customary to us, but to other people, it might be what? Uncustomary. To them. Like we take for granted that we can what? Talk on cell phones. Even 50 years ago, this would have been something what?
Uncustomary.
Yeah, people would have been like, because that was kind of like, even when I was a kid, little kid, like we kind of like fantasize, what would it be like if you could take your phone with you? Did such a thing exist for a mass market even 40 years ago? Did such a thing exist 40 years ago? Not for the mass market, no. Now we take it for what? Granted. 100 years ago, did they have TVs?
Nope.
No. So things, even though now we take these things completely, seem like a complete norm, for other people, you go to some of these people living in these isolated tribes in the jungles and stuff like that. Still, these technologies they don't exist for them. They have no idea about it. So it would seem to them, it would seem what? Uncustomary.
Uncustomary.
Yeah, because it's not familiar to them. It's something beyond what they're familiar with. But we know for sure that our familiarity with something, or our lack of familiarity with something, doesn't create anything. Okay, so we're laying down we're laying down the structure of our, if you wish, the way we think as Muslims, how to process things. So with the rational judgments, we know about them, and we can see we're using, the religion encourages us to use our minds. And now we're talking also about what? The miracles. Let's go ahead now and introduce the issue of prophethood, or let's talk about the sources of knowledge, and then that will lead to talking about the miracles. So we did talk about what? These sources of knowledge. How do we know things?
By using
So there are different ways. First one we mentioned are what? The sound senses. Sound here meaning what? Healthy. Like you say he arrived safe and sound. Or you say he's of a sound mind. It's not insane. So this is what we mean by sound. We don't mean sound meaning something
You hear it.
yeah, necessarily. That is one of the senses, right? The sense of hearing. But here, in this sense, we mean the healthy senses. So the sound senses are what? 5. What are they? Seeing,
Seeing, hearing,
hearing,
smell, sensing.
yeah, hearing, seeing,
thinking,
taste, no, that's not a sense.
Taste,
Touch,
touch,
what are we missing? Hearing, seeing, taste, touch, smell.
smell. I see it.
Oh, you did? Okay. So these are our senses. So these are ways to know things. So I see that my bottle is almost empty. That's from what? From sight.
Sight.
Hearing, I can hear the people talking a little bit in the next room. Taste, I just drank a little bit of yerba mate, I can taste it, maybe a little taste of it, a little bit of the honey. Touch, I can feel the table is something hard and solid. Smell, if I opened up the yerba mate, yeah, I can smell a little bit of the tea. So these are what? This is one source of what? Knowing things. The sound senses. What's the second source of knowledge?
Reliable report.
The reliable report. And we broke that down into what? 2 subcategories. Right? Alhamdulillah for the knowledge of the religion. Alhamdulillah. There aren't gaps. There aren't contradictions. Alhamdulillah. The reliable report. What was one of them? What is called in Arabic? Mutawatir. Which means mass witnessed A large number of people witness the event, and then they what? Transmit it to a large number, and then that large number transmits it to a large number, and such and such and such. So that in a manner that it's inconceivable that all of these people have lied. So this is one way we know things. None of us here has been to Japan, right?
No,
Okay. Do you have any doubt in the existence of Japan?
no doubt.
No doubt, no doubt. Why? Because so many people, I used to know a couple of guys, I worked with a couple of Japanese guys, and so many people tell you, yeah, there's a place called Japan, it's, right? You don't say, well, maybe all of these people, they conspire to make up this place. Nobody thinks this way. So mutawatir, mass transmitted, mass witness from the beginning, and it's mass transmitted. So given this definition, this excludes the Bible, for example. Sometimes you'll hear the Christians say, the Bible is the most printed book in the world. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. But does that make it authentic? No. They'll say, but it's in so many homes all over the earth, and that's true. That's true. But when you trace the isnad of that book, does it go back to mass witness? No. Was it mass transmitted from the beginning? Not later, from the beginning, because we say mass witness and mass transmitted. It has to be mass witness and mass transmitted from the what? Beginning. Because one person, he can tell 1,000 people. He may tell somebody, oh yeah, I got abducted by a UFO, he says, for example. Okay, it could be jinn, but he told 1,000 people. That 1,000 told 10,000. But when you trace the isnad, it goes back to what? One person. Isn't it possible this person could be lying?
True.
Isn't it possible he could be mentally ill? Yeah. Is it possible he got abducted by jinn? Yeah, that's possible. But if it coming from one person means it's not what? Reliable. No, it could be true, but it's not what? By just a regular person, it could be. It may or may not be reliable, just from himself. It may be true. He may or may not be truthful, but that report from just one person by itself is not what?
Not reliable.
It's not reliable. Yeah, he could be true. People do get abducted by jinn. That is a fact. But he makes the claim, but only he claims it. Who can corroborate for him?
Oh, okay. That's why you say it can be true, but it's not liable.
Yeah, it could be true, but by itself it's not reliable.
So that's why you need a mass witness, a mass to transmit them all.
And we gave the example of what? 9/11. The coming down of the World Trade Center. That's what? Mass witness and mass transmitted. Afwan. Meaning the event is mass witness and mass transmitted. Now who did it? We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, because they'll say, well, Bin Laden did it. Who said Bin Laden did it? Who? Liars. Yeah, even if Bin Laden, if they got him and he said, I did it, he's also, what have you, or whatever, Allahu A'lam, if he's alive or dead, what his condition really is. He's also what? A liar. He's not by himself. Is he reliable? No. So it's simply because he allegedly confessed to it. And they say that there were people, they were like doubles, and they lie. So it's liars with what? On top of liars. So how do you really know? You follow?
It wasn't mass witness.
No, it wasn't mass witness. He did it?
No.
What's mass witness? The buildings?
Came down.
Came down. Yeah, that's mass witness. We know that. But who did it? You have different conspiracy theories online and Allah.
So that's not a reliable report then.
Yeah, who did it is not reliable. Because the people saying that he did it, they're not reliable. People online, they have their own theories. They're theories. They are theories. They say, well, the building came down at this speed, and then they come up with okay, dude, it's not a proof. We don't know. But we know that liars told us about the event, or liars are involved with the event in whatever way, whatever capacity. I'm not saying they did it, but they're liars, so they could have done it, right? So the reliable report, it has to be mass witness and mass transmitted. The second type of reliable report, which is what we'll focus on in a little bit, is the what?
Your
Prophetic. So the prophetic report may come from only one person, but he is a what?
Prophet.
Prophet. And then we'll go and talk about how we know he's a prophet, etc. So although the prophet told us about a multitude of things, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, although he is one person, we what? Accept it. Because he is a prophet. And we'll get to the proof, inshallah. So that's even so, like the Prophet told us about the torture of the grave, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, coming from one person, we still accept it. Told us about the Munkar and Nakir interrogating the people in the grave, we accept it. We told us that we have to pray 5 times a day in order to be safe in the hereafter, we accept it. So although it's coming from one person, he is a prophet. We say he has to pray 5 times a day, meaning some people, Allah will forgive the Muslims. Some of their sins will be forgiven. But to be safe, if he does all his obligations, then he will be what? Safe. He's guaranteed to be safe. Okay, and the third source of knowledge we said is the intellect, the sound reasoning. And we mentioned 2 types of reasoning. We mentioned that which is known by what? Intuition. Meaning, you could say what? Common sense. And we gave the example of what? The entirety has to be larger than the what? Part. Right? You have an entire object. If it's a pizza, for example, however I slice the pizza, the slice has to be what? Smaller than
The whole.
the whole. Yeah. So this is something. Once you understand the statement, you don't need anybody to explain it to you. Like once you don't, can you prove this to me? Let me go and think. No, you know that any part of a thing is smaller than the what?
Whole.
Than the whole. You know that. This is what you say. It's known by what? Common sense. And some people use the word intuition, but here by intuition we don't mean a what? Feeling. You understand? Because intuition also means what? Feeling. Like some people, they kind of sense, oh, that brother, he's upset. He gets it from a what? Feeling. It's not a certain knowledge. He might think he's upset. The way the brother sat down, he said, man, I think the brother's upset. He's not. I mean, he just sat down maybe in a way that he made him think he's what? Upset.
So that's a feeling.
This is a feeling. It's not reliable. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But this, the intuition, the whole is bigger than the part. This is what? Always right. That's what it is. The entirety is bigger than what? The piece, the whole, the piece. And the second is what? Known by deduction, where your mind goes through what? A series of steps. And we gave the example of if A is bigger than B, and B is bigger than C, then we can deduce if this is true, then by necessity what? A is bigger than C. If A is bigger than B and B is bigger than C, then by necessity what? A would be bigger than C. So that's what we know by deduction. It's going through what? A series of steps. Okay? Intuition here could be common, we could say common sense, but with the meaning of as we define it. Not just, sometimes you say, well, it's common sense. It's not always like common sense. Some things you don't know. Someone might come from a small town, he might not know not to leave his telephone in here when he goes to the bathroom. Because this is the people where he's from, they don't steal. People here would say, man, it's common sense, you don't leave your what? Your phone on the table. Yeah, but that's not common. I mean, just the culture that we live in, you wouldn't leave your phone here on the table. But other places, maybe that's what the people do. Nobody steals. In general, people nobody steals. Okay, for you. So we'll stop here for session 1, and then we'll continue in talking about. We're going to come back and talking about the prophetic report, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, about prophecy and the prophetic report. Walhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala rasul.